Hello internet people. Today I am going to be sharing part 1 of 3 of my BEA BookCon book haul total video thing. I got a lot of books because it was my first time and I wasn't too picky on what to choose. So that's why there's 3 different parts. I want to split it up, and there's a lot of books and I'm super excited about most of them, and this is all that I got on day 1. Walking into the event hall was super overwhelming because there's booths everywhere, and if you've never been, you're like, what the crap's going on? And then people are handing out books and you're kind of freaking out because you're like, this is free. And there was one thing that I knew I needed to go to because of Twitter, and that was to get a copy of When Joss Met Matt by Ellie Cahill. I love this book. I've read it before and I was super excited to see that she was going to be signing finished copies of it at the RWA, I think it was, table. And this is published by Ballantine. It's a new adult romance, I think, and it's, I don't know, it's just really enjoyable because it's kind of like Friends with Benefits a little bit, right? Yeah, it's Friends with Benefits basically. It's really interesting, and I'm so excited to have a physical copy of it. The next book that we grabbed, we being Emily, Blue Eye Biblio, and Adam Books OK, grabbed was this super fun one called Design Your Day by Clara Diaz Ortiz. It's basically, if you read the front, it says be more productive, set better goals, and live life on purpose. On purpose. It's basically like if you want to get stuff done and you don't know how to do it, you want it to manage your time, then this should be a book that you should read. It's super short, and so we picked it up thinking it would be interesting, and now we have it to read and we'll see if it is interesting. Another book that I got at BEA is Not for Tourists Guide to Chicago. This was one that I got later in the day. There were literally just people walking around all of the booths with giant stacks of these, handing them out to everyone because, I mean, it's so relevant because we're in Chicago, and basically, unless you're from the area, you're a tourist at this event, and so it's full of like tips and tricks to see Chicago the real way, not necessarily like a tourist, even though you're a tourist. So it's exciting, and I did bring it with me when we went out later that night. I didn't use it, but I brought it with me, and now I have it since I'm not very far from Chicago. So this is something that I plan on either gifting to someone who I know is going to Chicago or using the next time I'm in town. The next book was a completely random find, and it was a book that I grabbed because the booth, the guy, the author signing it, they had a dog, and I love dogs, so I immediately gravitated towards it. And it's called Free Days with George, Learning Life's Little Lessons from One Very Big Dog. And they actually had George, the dog, I think they said he's a Newfoundland, they had him in the booth and he was adorable, and I just couldn't with this. And this, what I've gathered this book is about, it says for fans of Marley and Me. It's about the author Colin. He went on a business trip abroad and he came back, and his wife of many years moved out with absolutely no explanation. So of course he kind of spiraled into a pit of despair, and he rescued a dog, and that dog was George. And so I think it just kind of tells the tale about how George kind of helped him get through horrible things in his life. And I'm a sucker for dogs, so if there's a dog book and an actual dog in the booth, I'm gonna get the book. So that's how I got this one. This next book is a book that I didn't necessarily pick up and choose to take. It was one that right when you walk in the convention center, everybody's standing at the booth, they're shoving books in your arms, you're walking by, and you pretty much have to grab it or else it's gonna fall on the floor. So you end up with a book that you don't necessarily want, and one of these is Blood at the Root, A Racial Cleansing in America. I gather it's kind of like historical, and yeah, it's historical. And so I might read it. I do like history, but I plan on gifting this to maybe a history teacher, an old history teacher of mine, because it wasn't anything that I necessarily wanted, but it was pushed on me and I didn't get rid of it, so I have this. The other book is one that is a little joke with myself, Mara, Book Marauder, Adam, Books OK, and Emily, Blue Eye Biblio. If you didn't get True Vine, did you really go to BEA? And I say this because first day, and I guess the rest of the days, they had stacks and stacks of this book called Truvine. And Two Brothers, A Kidnapping and a Mother's Quest, A True Story of the Jim Crow South. They were shoving this book in people's arms like no other, and so you pretty much, if you walked by the booth while they were doing it, you ended up with a copy of it, whether you wanted it or not. So that's how we ended up with Truvine. Again, we were joking that this was going to be like our first book club read just because it's like everyone had it, but this is another one that I might read since I do like history, but I might end up gifting to an old history teacher so that it gets some good use out of it and it's applicable to them more than it is to me. The next book is one that I actually received at the bloggers conference earlier in the day before the showroom floor actually opened. It is called The 52nd by Della, and she was actually at the bloggers conference, and so that's how I got a copy of it. She had them, she was handing them out, she was signing them. To be completely honest, I don't know much about this book, but I do know that Mara, Book Marauder, has read it and she's told me that I need to read it. And so now I have it and I really am excited to read it, and I hope that I love it like I know so many people do. The next 4 books I received from the Hachette book group booth, and a fun little fact, I always called it Hatchet. I didn't know that it was actually supposed to be called Hachette, so that's a fun fact. The first one is called The Orphan Mother by Robert Hicks. I don't know much about it, but it's historical fiction, and I do have a little weakness for historical fiction. I believe it's an adult novel. So I was hesitant to get it, but I got it because I want to expand my reading horizons out past just young adult. So I thought this would be a good one to start, and I'm very excited to read it. Escape Was Just the Beginning by Holly Overton. I think the reason that I grabbed this one is because someone pitched it to me as a thriller. I want to say they mentioned like Gone Girl as like a comp title, which I loved Gone Girl. So that would be the main reason that I picked this book up. Little Deaths by Emma Flint. This one got pitched to me as BEA Buzz Selection. Yeah, BEA Buzz Selection. It's another like historical fiction type book, which again, I want to expand my horizons. So that's the main reason that I picked this one up. The last one is actually, the reason that I picked it up was because of the author. The author is Winston Groom, and if you don't know who he is the author that wrote Forrest Gump, and he has a new book coming out called El Paso. Obviously, takes place in Texas, I'm assuming. But again, a historical fiction, expanding my horizons, and Forrest Gump, how could you not? Another book that I picked up is called Here I Am by Jonathan Safran Foer. If you don't know, he is the author of Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. I did not know about this book. Emily, Blue Eye Biblio, saw while we were walking past Macmillan booth, and we saw a sign that said that he was doing a signing of this, and Emily's like, oh my god, I want to read that. So we pretty much all got it, because if Emily wants to read it, that means we should all want to read it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's very thick, so hopefully it'll last me a while. The next book that I got, I think both Emily and I picked up. It's a novelization version of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's published by a small company called Joe Books, and we were talking to the publicist there, and she said what they're actually planning on doing is releasing novelizations of like all the superheroes, Marvel, all that. So she gave us a copy and she told us, really let her know what we think about it. And of course, who doesn't love novelizations of Marvel? So of course we had to grab this one so that we could give it to read. And I'm super excited because I have you can't see them, but they're right there. And they're all the Funko Pops for Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm looking forward to this one. This book that I got in my hand, you can't see it, I got it for my mom because I pre-selected tickets to author signing lines, and one of the authors was Scotty McCreery. My mom liked Scotty McCreery when he was on American Idol. I think she listens to any music that he has right now. So I thought it'd be cool to meet him and get a signed copy of his book that I know nothing about. I even got a picture with him, but the lady who took the picture does not know how to hold a camera at all, so it's the blurriest picture in the world. But I got my mom a book and she seemed kind of excited about it, So, mission well done. The next 4 books that I have are all from Scholastic. A couple of them are middle grade, and this was the first day walking through. They just had stacks of them out, and you could walk up, see what it was about, grab them. So some of them sounded interesting, and I did grab them. This first one is called Shadow House: The Gathering by Dan Pawlowski. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. I think the reason that I picked this up was because I picked it up because the cover, because you can't really tell on the camera, but this is indented in, and her face is like on a smooth surface, not like the cover smooth. It says knock knock, who's dead, so that drew me in. Then when I picked it up and turned it over, it says Shadow House is calling you. Some houses are more than just haunted, they're hungry. So this reminded me of that little kids movie called Monster House, and I remembered seeing that and I loved it, and so I'm really hoping that this one does not disappoint and it follows along the same lines. The next book that I grabbed from Scholastic is called The Scourge. I don't know how you pronounce it however you want. By Jennifer A. Nielsen, author of The False Prince. This False Prince has been on my TBR list for a long time, so when I saw this, figured I should snatch it up. It's got a nice cover and it's got like a compelling tagline, "When a plague isn't all that kills." So this is one that I'm super excited to read because I feel like it's middle grade-ish. And I want to expand my reading horizons. The Call is one that the cover kind of drew me in because it's kind of mysterious looking. It's by, I'm going to pronounce this horribly wrong, Peadar O'Gulin? Very wrong, I pronounced that, I apologize. It says 3 minutes to save your life. On the back it says 3 minutes you wake up alone in a horrible land, a horn sounds, the call has begun. 2 minutes, the seed are close, they're the most beautiful and terrible people you've ever seen and they've seen you. 1 minute, Nessa will be called soon. No one thinks she has any chance to survive, but she's going to prove them wrong. Time's up. Could you survive the call? So this one sounds like really compelling from the short little summary on the back of it, so I just had to snatch it up. This last one from Scholastic is called The Forgetting by Sharon Cameron, critically acclaimed author of Rook. Haven't read Rook, but I want to read Rook. I think when I picked this up and what caught it for me, made me grab this book, is the last line or the last sentence or two in the synopsis. It says, "From the critically acclaimed author of Rook comes an extraordinary exploration of truth and memory, love and loss, and the story of a young woman who must harness an indomitable courage to save her world." This is one of those books that is kind of like crack for me. So there's going to be a young woman like harnessing courage and saving the world. I want to get in on that. So obviously I picked up this book. Next 2 books are books that I picked up from Harper. The first one is called The Comet Seekers by Helen Sedgwick. This was one that someone pitched to me as I was walking by, and I had to pick it up and listen to the pitch, and once I read the first sentence on the back of it, I knew I had to have it. It says, "A magical, intoxicating debut novel, both intimate and epic, that intertwines the past, present, and future of 2 lovers bound by the passing of great comets overhead and a coterie of remarkable ancestors." Like, this sounds super interesting in my opinion, so I had to grab it. The next one is one that I got from one of the Epic Reads ARC drops. It is called Airy by Maria Davana Headley, sequel to Magonia. I did not know that Magonia was going to get a sequel, so this was a surprise for me, and I actually have not read Magonia yet. Don't hate me. It's on my list. I'm doing it very soon, obviously, now that I have this. But this one, the cover's gorgeous, and I've just heard so many great things about Magonia, so when I got up to choose the arcs, this was actually, I think the other arc was 3 Dark Crowns, and that one was all gone, and this one was the only one left that they had for the drop, and so I grabbed it, of course. But I'm super excited, since I've heard such great things about Magonia, to not only read that, but to see what Maria is going to do next. The next 8 books that I have are all from Little Brown. The first one is called The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. She is author of The Room, and I've heard of that, wanted to read it, haven't read it. This is one that I picked up by chance, and then I was reading about what it's about later, and I'm glad that I picked it up because it says it's an intimate tale of 2 strangers who transform each other's lives, a powerful psychological thriller, and a spellbinding story of love pitted against evil. So this sounds like Alex Crack again. The next book is a middle grade I think it's a middle grade. Once you see the cover, you'll see why I think that. It's called The Adventurer's Guide to Successful Escapes by Wade Albert White. Look at this cover. This is adorable. It says, step into a world made up of magical floating tiers where fantasy and science fiction meet in dark alleys. Dragons aren't nearly as innocent as they look. Which is to say, not innocent at all, and nothing is quite what it seems. This just sounds like a really, really cute book, and if I don't like it, I know of some younger kids that I could definitely give it to, and they'd love to read it. It just sounds really cute, and so I had to have it. The next book is called Invisible Summer by Alice Adams. Didn't know much about it when I grabbed it, but it sounds really interesting. It's 4 friends, 20 years, one unexpected journey. And it says that it is a story about finding the courage to carry on in the wake of disappointment and a powerful testament to love and friendship as the constants in an ever-changing world. So if you're looking for a good friendship book, I'm really hoping that this is going to be the one. I'll know once I read it, but it sounds like it's promising. So super excited because I met awesome friends at BEA, and I feel like we could so have 4 friends, 20 years and one unexpected journey like this book. The next book is, I think it's another middle grade. It's called When the Sea Turned to Silver by Grace Lynn. And I actually just found out that it's like a companion novel to the Newbery Honor book Where the Mountain Meets the Moon and Starry River of the Sky. I haven't heard of that, so obviously I'm going to have to do some reading before I read this one. But it just sounds like a little, beautiful little fantastical adventure, and I want to get in on that, so I picked it up. Next book that I picked up from Little Brown is called Towers Falling by Jewel Park Rhodes. This one is, as of course you can kind of figure out, Towers Falling. It is a novel that has to do with the 9/11 attacks. It takes place 15 years after the 9/11 attacks, and it's about a group of friends. Basically, what does it say? It tells a powerful story about strong young people who weren't alive to witness this moment in history, but begin to realize just how much the events color their everyday lives. And I think it's really important because now, I think, yeah, most like teenagers, high schoolers are pretty much the ones who weren't alive during 9/11. So I think it'll be really interesting to read a story about teenagers who address and realize the consequences of this massive event that took place before they were even born. So this one, I have a feeling it's going to be like really sad, but it sounds like it'll be a good read. The last 3 Little Brown books that I have are ones that I got during their ARC drop. They didn't do like a normal ARC drop for this. They did like a dice roll game where you got in a huge line, and once you got to the front, you rolled a dice, and whatever you got on your dice corresponded to a specific book, and you got that book. So it was all 100% chance, which was really cool because you didn't have to deal with everybody going for the most anticipated and not being any left by the time you got to the front. So the first one that I got is Poisoned Blade by Kate Elliott, sequel to Court of Fives, which I have not read yet. I am waiting for my copy to come in the mail. It's been on my TBR for a while, and so now I have a really good reason to read it because I have the sequel. I'm nervous because I've heard good things and bad things about this book. The first book, that is, not this book. I haven't heard anything about this book. But I've heard you either love it or you hate it. I hope I'm on the love it side, but if I don't end up liking it, then it sucks. But you'll be seeing a giveaway for the first book and this book if I don't end up liking it. The next book that I got from the dice roll is Blood for Blood by Ryan Groden. Have not read Wolf by Wolf. It is the sequel to Wolf by Wolf. I've been waiting to read Wolf by Wolf until the paperback comes out because I wanted to get all these books in paperback because of the paperback to Ryan's first book, The Walled City. I really love how it looks. So I'm gonna get all the paperbacks on my shelves, but now obviously I'm probably going to buy the hardcover online because I do not think that the paperback is available of Wolf by Wolf. But I'm super excited for this one because everybody, I feel like, loves this book if they've read it. And it's, I was so happy that I got this once I saw it was available. The last book from the dice roll is not one that I actually got from the dice roll. This is a book that Adam Books OK got from the dice roll, and fantasy isn't really his cup of tea, so he asked me if I wanted it. Of course I said yes. I think this was like the most anticipated one that they had available for the dice roll, and it is called Frostblood by Ellie Blake. Morgan Rhodes blurbed it, fierce, bright, vibrant, and steamy. The first in a page-turning young adult series about a world where flame and ice are mortal enemies, but together create a power that could change everything. This one does sound really good. I see why it was most anticipated, and I am in retrospect very, very happy that Adam got a copy and did not want a copy. The last 4 books that I got on BEA Day 1 are all Penguin Random House related. The first one is called How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather. This one was brought to my attention by Adam. He really, really wanted it. He was looking up the time when they were going to do the drop, so we were over there and we got him. I know for a fact Adam already read this book and he really, really liked it, so I'm super excited to start it. I mean, it's about a witch and the cover is so cool. The more things change in Salem, the more they stay the same as the blurb. Very excited since someone I know liked it. They already read it, they loved it, so I'm super, super excited. The next one that I got is called Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. This is a book that I got. Penguin Random House actually came down for the bloggers conference at the end of the day, and they had some books set up, some fun games. You could do like bookstagramming with Penguin Teen, and they had stuff set up where you could take pictures, but this was one that there were 2 options. The other option I ended up getting a different day, but this is one that the publicist said if you're looking for a tearjerker, this is the one that you need to read. And I'm always looking for sad books that can make me cry, because there's been like maybe 1 book in the history of history that's ever been able to make me cry. And this one, it just sounds so sad. And I'm super excited for it because they recommended it like crazy, and they were like, I've actually read this, you know, I'm not just pushing it on you because. So I'm very excited to read The Girl in Pieces. The next book that I got from the Penguin Random House Bloggers Conference thing was Furthermore by Tahira Mafi, and I'm super excited for this because the cover is gorgeous and I've been waiting for more Tahira books for so long. I'm interested to see, since this is middle grade I think, how it differs from her previous work and the writing style and everything. God, the cover is so gorgeous. I need it, and I have it, and I'm super excited about it. The very last book that I got at BEA, and it was at the Penguin Random House Bloggers Conference fun shenanigan thing, is Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Neven. She was actually there signing them, so I got to meet her, which is super exciting. I have heard amazing things about All the Bright Places, and fortunately I haven't read it yet because my TBR is completely mountainous, but I'm confident that it's an amazing book, and this one will be an amazing book because I've heard so many great things about it from people that I trust. This is the book that, if you remember, you probably remember if you're on Twitter, the summary that was put up by Penguin Random whatever on Goodreads caused a lot of controversy because it made it sound like it was about a fat girl who gets skinny and is all the better because of it and all this stuff. So I'm excited for it to see how it actually is, because the synopsis isn't everything for a book. So I'm really excited to give it a try and see how it is. So that's it for the BEA Day 1 book haul. If you didn't count all of that, it was a total of 32 books. Way more than what I was expecting to get. Of course, some of them I mentioned, they were just shoved in my hands, so I'm not sure if I will read them or pass them along to someone else. But BEA Day 1 was definitely very, very hectic, and they had a lot of great books that I'm super excited about, and I don't know how I carried all of that around without like dislocating my shoulder. So it was basically a miracle. Be sure to check back for BEA Day 2 and Day 3 book hauls. I'll probably combine my BookCon book haul with BEA Day 3 because I didn't really get anything at BookCon, but so I hope you liked it. I hope some of these books you're interested in. If you are interested in any of them, tell me in the comments so I know which ones to hold giveaways for once I finish reading them. I hope everyone who's watching this has a wonderful day.